Hola, chicos. Everything I've heard and said has been in Spanish. Who's speaking Spanish with me? Because I'm ready to speak Spanish. This I did not expect at all. Estado de ánimo affects a lot. That is, if your driver wants to speak with you in Spanish. I could go back. I would definitely, this is gonna sound insane, feel like I struggled in that area. Oh, it's perfect and everything's perfect. And you're like, it is so weird to speak with you in English. Was I happy with my speaking? ¿Cómo están? Espero que todos estén muy bien. Hoy estoy muy emocionada porque quiero platicar sobre mi viaje a México, al cual regresé hace unas semanas y fue increíble. If you guys saw any of my Mexico vlogs, you would know I had the literal time of my life. I didn't want to leave. And if you haven't seen them, make sure you watch them after this. I hope they're encouraging to you and overall just help you keep on your journey. So today I just thought we could have a chatty catch up of how I feel, what are my observations, what went well, what went not so well, what would I recommend for you guys if you have a trip coming up, all the things. Also gonna have the timestamps below, so in case you're curious about one particular thing, make sure to check down there. To put us into context, I had 11 months of learning Spanish and I was at 1,300 hours of comprehensible input. No studying, no vocab or grammar or Spanish classes, nothing like that, only listening to Spanish input. One thing I need to say off the bat is that reaching a high number of hours in any language with comprehensible input will absolutely change your life. There's no way that your life could be the same. I have a very unique perspective because I reached a very high number of hours in a relatively short amount of time. So I went from being in Mexico and not knowing any Spanish at all, coming home to the United States for almost a year, going back to Mexico and suddenly knowing Spanish. And it felt so insane, not only to me, but to everybody around me. I'll start off by saying, I feel confident that I could move to a Spanish-speaking country where nobody speaks English. I'd still have to improve and it wouldn't be perfect, and I'm sure that some situations would be harder than others, but it would not be something out of the question or impossible. Not at all. If you saw my most recent Mexico vlog, I was able to meet some girlfriends while I was there. We hung out a few times and we only spoke Spanish. I actually don't know them speaking English. And there was a time that we met up in a group. We kind of started speaking English because there were some English speakers. And then me and the girl looked at each other and we were like, it is so weird to speak with you in English. And we're like, yeah, I don't like it. And so we immediately started only speaking in Spanish with each other. But that's what I mean, where it's like, I can do life there in Spanish. I was able to make friends. I could see myself being able to move there, doing all my routine things, but in Spanish. But don't worry, this video isn't gonna be like, oh, it's perfect and everything's perfect. I'm gonna get to all the details, so just you wait, but I did wanna just mention that to kind of give you a reference for where I'm at and what it was like. So let's start out with my listening comprehension. You saw in my videos, there was a few odd times where I had trouble comprehending things. I was in Sinaloa and the accent is known to be a little bit hard. I think it really depended on context. So if I was talking to someone really quick, for example, the manager at the restaurant that wanted to seat us, it was super busy in the restaurant and it was like, how many people you have? There's a line, da da da, what? It was like quick and in passing. Those were a little bit harder to understand. Or with the security guy at my front desk, sometimes he would start joking with me and it would sound a little crazy and I wasn't really catching everything. But other than that, there was really not a time where I didn't understand my Uber drivers, my friends, people at restaurants, things like that. I never felt like I was left in the dark or I don't know what they're saying and so I don't know. It was not like that at all. If you saw my video, there was like a 10 to 20 minute clip of me at a table at dinner with my friends and we were all just speaking in Spanish. So it just, comprehension, not a problem at all. But in that same vein, I do want to say that there were some times where my friends would use maybe more colloquial terms for things. I mentioned this in one of my videos as well, where they would ask me something and I would be like, what? and then they would change it and say it in a way that was maybe more formal or more in a way that I could understand, and I immediately would understand. And that was something that happened a handful of times, and I really would like to experience more time in Mexico so that I could get more familiarized with these types of things. And I don't know, it probably differs by region and things like that, but yeah. Use the example where my friend asked me what I was going to order, but she asked me in a way that I didn't understand, and when I was like, what? She changed it to ¿qué vas a pedir? Things like that. There were like little things like that. Was I happy with my speaking? I have so much to say here, and I really want to say it well and so much. So let's just kind of dive into this, and I really want you to hear me correctly. Yes, I was happy with my speaking. In my scenario, there's no way I couldn't be happy because it's been such a short time. I mean, yeah. But yes, I was happy. I know I'm making this sound bad, but yes, I was happy. I want to kind of share my thoughts here. So just follow me here. I think I finally am understanding a little bit more why I mentioned in some of my old videos that I would see people at 1,000 hours and at these higher hours, and they kind of felt like they were not happy with their level and where they were. And that really bothered me because I'm like, what do you mean you're saying you can do all this, but you're still unhappy with where you are? And you guys know, if you watch my channel, I'm big on being proud of yourself, being grateful for how far you've come. And let me get one thing clear. You will not get to this level and be unhappy with your level. I feel like this is a very sensitive topic, and that's why I'm trying to be careful, because I know that some of you getting to 1,000 hours or more could take years. I'm very well aware of that. And I don't want for a second for you to think that it's going to be a waste of time and you're going to be unhappy with your level. Absolutely not. So please do not hear that with anything I'm saying. I will never say that. You are happy with your level, but you have this drive to keep learning more. And as I've been thinking about it, it's almost the exact same as if you've gone from super beginner to beginner, or if you've gone from beginner to intermediate and so on. You know that gap of time when your brain is learning more and it kind of feels harder, and it feels like you can see that there's kind of a mountain that you have to go up. It feels like that even the higher up you get. I really encourage you to go watch my vlogs for Mexico, because you'll see I'm in Mexico. I'm speaking with the natives. I'm making friends in Spanish, all these things. Of course, I can't say that I wasn't happy with my level. So much to learning a language, and I don't think you're ever really finished. There's a lot of people that could look at even where I'm at, or someone at even 2,000 hours, and think, well, that they're finished. They've made it. They've made it. And if I knew that I could even get to this level, or even half the level I'm at right now, even 2 years ago, I would have thought, oh girl, you have made it. Learning that there's always more, and you always want to improve even more. And after being in Mexico, of course, you do see the areas that maybe you lack in, or that you want to be able to express yourself a little bit better in. And so that's where I'm sitting at today. I'm feeling more motivated than ever to keep going. And with that said, there are also some things that I will touch on a little bit later in the video on certain aspects where I wish I would have practiced a little more before traveling. Okay, this next section is just random takeaways. We're just going to rapid fire them in no particular order. Input is so important. I went 3 or 4 days in Mexico without getting any outside input, as in podcast, series, videos in Spanish. Yes, I was hearing Spanish from my friends, at the restaurant, everywhere. But for the first time in a year or 11 months, I wasn't getting the hours of input via podcasts and videos and things like that. And by I would say day 3 or day 4, even though I was speaking Spanish and hearing Spanish here and there with my friends and things like that, I started to notice that my Spanish felt less primed. It didn't feel as if it was right there, just ready to come out. And you guys know, when I make videos, even at my house in Minnesota, I'm like speaking Spanish. It's very easy for me to just start speaking in Spanish. But suddenly I found myself like it was costing a little more for me to start speaking in Spanish. And that's when I realized, oh, input is so important. It's not something that I expected to happen. I did start listening to podcasts and things like that in my downtime after I realized that that was happening. Next up, estado de ánimo affects a lot. Estado de ánimo, like your mood affects a lot with your Spanish. And I should have known this. Like, it's kind of obvious if you think about it, but it's just something I noticed that I wasn't expecting, I guess. Early morning, breakfast, I didn't really want to be speaking Spanish. So sometimes with the waiter and stuff, especially if we stayed up really late the night before, I'm at breakfast, I'm ordering maybe even in English. I mean, it was like that. If I took an Uber early in the morning, I'll say the bare minimums in Spanish. But if the drive is 15, 20 minutes, I'm sitting in silence. And that kind of shocked me because I'm like, girl, don't you want to be speaking your Spanish? But it's just, you can't really fake it if you're tired. And it's just like in English, I'm not ready to be chatting my head off right in the morning. You know what I mean? And going along with that, I find that getting into a conversation, everything starts to flow a lot easier. Sometimes these little short things that I had to say in Spanish were kind of not coming out as smooth, like ordering in Spanish and things like that. But then if I sit down and I'm having a conversation with people, it can be hours and we're just talking in Spanish. So it was very interesting. Another thing, this is very strange and I still can't really understand how this is happening. But after speaking in Spanish with your friends for like hours, because sometimes I'd be hanging out with my friends and we'd only speak in Spanish for hours, like if we hung out all night and things like that, it's so weird when you have this kind of body thought of like, wait, we've been speaking in Spanish, like there's been no English. It's super crazy. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like, wait, this is so insane that this whole night everything I've heard and said has been in Spanish. Along with that, something that's happened to me not only when I was in Mexico, but also since I've been back home, is I've realized I can't differentiate all the time whether something was in English or in Spanish. And this is funny. I was editing my Mexico video, and in the video, I'm asking my friend to say something in Spanish. And he is joking with me, and he keeps saying it in English. And I'm like, no, like in Espanol, in Espanol. And then later, like he says something in Spanish. In the video, when I'm editing it, I'm saying to him, no, in Spanish. Like, say it in Spanish. But he literally said it in Spanish. Now that I've been back home as well, like I'll be editing a video or I'll be like, why are you not speaking in Spanish? But I'm like, you literally are speaking in Spanish. Like that whole clip, you were just speaking in Spanish. It seems crazy. I don't know how to explain it. I'm just kind of relaying what has been happening lately. It's like my brain is so... This is not the video where I want to be sharing all this. I shared so many things in my 2 Mexico vlogs, but talking about this is just making me reminisce so much. And it was so insane and amazing to be able to speak Spanish. So many nights where I would meet my friends and then, we're bouncing around the town, we're meeting their friends, we're doing this, and just being able to speak with so many people in Spanish. It was the best time literally ever, and I felt that I would have never had that experience if I couldn't speak Spanish. It was so easy to meet people, and then their friends would come and I would be meeting them, and then we're all hanging out, and then we're going to dinner, and it's just, there's nothing like it. And even just thinking about it is making me so happy. Last one of my random thoughts before I get into kind of my recommendations for you if you have a trip of any kind coming up. I just love not having the language barrier. Period. There's no language barrier in any situation. And this even goes for reading. I mentioned to you guys how much I loved being able to read at the grocery store or just reading the signs. You know, when you're just walking around, maybe you're in even like public transportation and there's like little signs and you just get to read. You just get to read things as if it was normal. Whereas, I don't know, if you picture right now going to some place like China or something, and you're walking around, you don't know what anything says, Love being able to read everything, reading the menus, but also just not having the language barrier be a thing at all. You guys saw my vlog. I was getting a massage. I'm able to talk to the massage lady at the dentist. I'm able to hear what the dentist people are saying, getting my nails done. You just get to be more a part of wherever you are instead of just kind of existing there but not really being a part of it, if that makes sense. I didn't do it this trip, but I know there's been times in the past when I've wanted to try out a Pilates studio there or go to a church, things like that. And there's just a little bit extra level of discomfort when you know, oh, is there going to be a language barrier? Am I going to be the only one that doesn't speak Spanish? Like all these things. But now, just knowing I could do whatever I wanted to. I could go to any event with locals or like made for locals, you know, like a Pilates studio or an art class or whatever. And it would be totally fine. This next section is going to be all about things that I would have done differently if I could go back, recommendations that I have for you guys if you have a trip coming up, maybe some things that didn't go as well, all the things. So let's get right into it. First off, this is something I had planned to work on a little bit more before my trip, but I ended up getting sick, if you guys saw that video, and I didn't really have time those 2 weeks before my trip to kind of practice more everyday conversations. I do feel like I struggled in that area. Ordering food at the restaurants, being at the mercado. It's like the everyday little interactions that trip me up because I only learned by listening to podcasts and watching videos and not, I want to order this or where would you like to sit at this restaurant? You know, things like that. I will say, I think that Dreaming Spanish has leveled their game up immensely. I just watched one of their videos for the first time in months and the quality and everything is insane. I know that they started having more role play type videos and being at the market and things like that. And so hopefully you guys won't have this problem, but if I could go back, I would definitely try to get more input, maybe with food vlogs or purposely going to those Dreaming Spanish videos of situations like that, ordering food, asking for things at the market. It felt very strange because I can sit and hang out with my friends for hours on end and we're only speaking in Spanish, but then I'm at the mercado alone or ordering tacos alone. They could think that maybe I don't even speak Spanish because these little things I just wasn't as familiar with. I went to this restaurant alone on my final night in Mexico, and something as simple as, you know, walking in and they're greeting me and asking me where I want to sit and how many people are with me, I froze up. These types of things don't feel as natural. And so in English, I was like, can I sit on the roof? Like, can I sit on the rooftop? And it just felt like, oh my gosh, here I am. They think I don't even know Spanish, and I do. Not that it matters that they know, but you know what I mean? It's just like, oh wow. It's these everyday little conversations that I'm sure would come really fast if you are able to spend more time in a country and have these everyday conversations, like ordering food, being at the grocery store, telling the taco place what tacos you want, you know, things like that. Okay, this next thing is huge, and this I did not expect at all, and I need to recommend to you guys if you have a trip coming up to a Spanish-speaking country to practice your Spanish. The thing is, you think, oh, I'm going to this country that's a Spanish-speaking country and I'll be able to practice my Spanish all the time, and, you know, of course. And in a way, yes, you're surrounded by Spanish. Everyone at the restaurants and in the taxi and all these things are speaking Spanish. But what I found very, very quickly is I wanted to speak Spanish so much. And I think it's because you're just so excited as well and you want to practice. Right away, I found myself trying to seek out times when I could speak way more Spanish. Because if you think about it, like, let's just go here together. Let's say, you know, you're going out to dinner or something. Okay, yeah, you can speak Spanish in the taxi drive or however you're getting to dinner. That is if your driver wants to speak with you in Spanish. There's a little bit of Spanish. You get to dinner, you get to order in Spanish and say like a few things with your waiter. But then, you know, you're probably with your family that doesn't speak Spanish. And even for me, I was with a ton of my friends that speak Spanish for a lot of the time. And so I'm so glad I had that because we could speak Spanish for hours on end, like in the evenings or if we went out to lunch together, things like that. But even with that, and this is going to sound insane, but I swear it didn't feel like enough. Oh, great, I have dinner plans with my friends, right? But I wake up that morning, who's speaking Spanish with me? Because I'm ready to speak Spanish, you know? And if you watch my video, you'll see that there were times even when I'm chasing down like the beach vendors and buying so many things just because I want to be speaking Spanish. And it felt kind of like every day I had this challenge of what am I going to do today to find ways to speak Spanish. And it sounds crazy, but just take it from me. You're going to want to speak a lot more than you think. And if I were you, and what I wish I would have done differently, you're going to have to get a little bit creative. I still don't know how I would exactly do this, but plan excursions or things in advance where you know you'll be able to speak a lot of Spanish. Not even sure the best way to do this or even how I would do this, but to start, I would say maybe look into excursions, like a city tour with a native. That right there would give you a few hours with your driver, with your tour guide, and you could ask, can we only speak in Spanish? Maybe join Facebook groups or even look on Reddit to try to make friends in advance before you go, or even to find kind of events basically geared towards natives. So even if you looked it up in Spanish, I think you could find events like maybe for young adults, or I don't know, if you're into some other hobby or sport. I know there was like surfing, people going surfing where I was, and they invited me, but I just didn't have time. Maybe like a cooking class or art class, things like that. I don't know. That's what I mean. You really gotta get creative, but you will thank yourself later because it was hard. It was hard to wake up every day and feel like I want to be speaking Spanish. But even if I go to a cafe or something like that, you know, it's still just the basic conversation. And you can't really expect a stranger to just want to like speak to you for hours, you know what I mean? It'll be worth it to do the work in advance to try to find more opportunities where you'll be able to meet people, speak in Spanish, be around Spanish. I think even it would have been fun to go to like a fitness class or something like that where you're around other people and you're more submersed into what life would be like if you lived there fully in Spanish. Okay, chicos, that is all that I have for today's video. I have to admit right now, I feel like I'm leaving so many things out, but that's because I had 3 Mexico vlogs that were 30 minutes or longer, and I took you guys along with me to experience a lot of these things that I'm sharing and even more. And I've already shared it all with you, so I wasn't gonna sit here and repeat everything. So if you haven't watched those videos, I really encourage you to watch them. I did speak a lot of Spanish, at least in the first Mexico vlog and the third one. I spoke a lot of Spanish. In the second one, it was very chatty and I was sharing details with you guys. I wanted to do it in English because I really wanted everyone to know this is what it could be like for you if you stay on this journey. And basically in that second video, I was recapping my first 2 days in Mexico. So really my raw first experiences. My mind was blown already. And so make sure you watch those if you haven't already. And I will see you guys soon in an upcoming video. I have a lot of good videos coming. I really want to get reset and make new goals because I know that's totally necessary. Mexico was such a big goal of mine this whole time, and it's really what kept me going. And I thought I could do some sort of challenge because I really want to ramp up my speaking practice and all these things. And of course, my 1-year anniversary video. Very soon, 1,500 hours will be here, so a lot of good things coming. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments, and do not forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you very soon. Bye!